Kiran Khalap is a true Renaissance man, effortlessly juggling his passions of writing, meditation, and rock climbing with his career. Joining advertising as a copywriter at Lintas, he rose quickly to become its youngest creative director. In 1991, he joined Clarion Advertising as its national creative director and ended up as its first ever chief executive officer and chief creative officer. On leaving Clarion, he founded Chlorophyll, India's first end-to-end brand consultancy. In 2010, Kiran was chosen as the chairman of the Advisory Council for the Indian government's Unique ID project. As an author of 2 novels, he has received great critical acclaim. Let's waste no more time and present to you the man himself, Kiran Khalap with Banana Bandy and Design Dialogue.
So let's first look at what is the best definition of creativity that we have. Yeah, and I've printed out this. To me is the best that I've ever had. So this is a gentleman who was a priest. He was called Pair Telar de Sharda, Pair his brother, as well as a philosopher and more or less a saint. And if you look at this very simple definition, to create is to unite. So it's a beautiful definition, and I feel there is a lot of conflict or contradiction or fights that happen because what we operate in, what designers operate in, what the advertising industry operates in, that context is not clear to some of the people who work there. So let me take my next. Here are the 3 roles, yeah, of creativity. So there is problem solution, self-expression, and evolution. So when we are in the commercial space, whether it is you, Banana Bandy, or whether it is Chlorophyll, a brand consultancy, whether it's an advertising agency, whether it's an individual designer, we are all working in the problem solution space. We are trying to create a new product, trying to create a new idea to solve a problem. So at all times the objective is solving the problem, and so the first conflict arises when the designer or the ad agency or the person says, I keep hearing that, but my portfolio is not ready. The idea is not to do your portfolio. Having a beautiful portfolio is self-expression. So if you look at those 3, you are mixing up. Then actually when you are working in this area, you are in the commercial area, applying creativity in the commercial area, you are solving a problem. Yeah, and at all times that must be the focus rather than what it is doing to you. So if you want self-expression where there is no target, when you are doing a painting or you are shooting a photograph for pleasure to express yourself, obviously there is nobody who can tell you, but it's not doing its job, because the job is expressing yourself. There is no other parameter by which it can be judged. But if you are doing problem solution, then the only parameter is it solving the problem? So when people say, is this a good logo or a bad logo, I say, in my field there is no such thing as good or bad. In my field there is only, is it meeting its objective, yes or no. Very interesting concept that I learned. This was from a gentleman called Peter Economides, who used to be in McCann, and he had this beautiful essay which said that the most effective marketing ideas or brand communication ideas happen in cultures that have not been dominated by other cultures. And he gave the example of Japan, Thailand, and Brazil. And if you look at it, that's true. Now my second hypothesis is this, that Indians by far have come out of the huge kind of domination that we had for 200 years of the English. Okay, we are no longer worried about not speaking in English. Our sports people sometimes might speak in Hindi. The number of Hindi newspapers is growing and so on and so forth. But I'm a bit worried that our designers have not got out of that. They are still looking at India through the lens of the West. So when you ask me what is your favorite typeface or favorite font, I'm actually worried because I really don't know the name of, and ashamed to say that, the name of any font in any other language except English. All our other scripts, they are so beautiful. What about somebody like Achyut Pala, who has been working day and night on perfecting Devanagari as a calligraphy? Why isn't any work being done there? Right. So I don't know whether our own people, whether in advertising agencies or design companies or consultancies or television commercial making, whether they have gone back to our roots and looked at what else we can draw from. Yeah, what is the biggest one that that we can draw from? Which is the, if I asked you, which is the most magnificent architecture in India? I would say Ellora. Taj Mahal is, yes, Taj Mahal, it's beautiful. But Ellora has been built over 120 years out of one rock. How the hell did you do it? How there were no computers, there was nothing. You have started cutting it from top, for God's sake. How was this made possible? And the beautiful thing is, nobody knows who did it. There is no signature. So that's my last, and remember who said this. This is one of the world's greatest cinema guys. So if you look at, he's saying this is not just, but that is what we have had in India, that you don't sign the work because at a very, very fundamental level, creativity flows through you, you don't own it. And once you have that sense, then you actually feel far more liberated and you feel far better operating in any environment you operate in. Then there is no sense of conflict. Oh, this is mine, how dare you? So those are my 3 hypotheses. You will go through 5 steps. There is no, now the creative person may not tell you that he is going through 5 steps, but if you analyze it, there are 5 steps. So there is a problem definition, there is ingestion, there is frustration, there is illumination, and there is verification. Okay? So what in advertising is called briefing is a problem definition. Somebody is telling you this is what we want to solve. Then that creative person says, no, okay, tell me about the product, tell me about competition, tell me about, you are ingesting it, it's all becoming part of you. Then you struggle with it. Most creative people who have been in business for say 5 or 6 years will give you a default answer inside 30 minutes or even less. Okay, so we have this what we call the default option, but when you want a great option, then you have to go through frustration. So, and then suddenly either after your whiskey or while falling asleep or while running or while dreaming, suddenly that answer comes. But there is an important point in the end called verification. So you have to go back and see what you are very excited about. Is it solving the problem in the first place? That is what is the last step. The senior most such group, because I was chairman of that committee, I don't think I have managed anything, set of people more gifted and more qualified for that was the committee we created to create Aadhaar. But we were able to manage that because somehow we knew that there is a time in 3 months we needed to create, and there was a larger purpose that this is going to change India. So we didn't, the second part of this thing was we made sure that we let each person play to his strengths, which is what should happen in a team. So in a team, if you know this, it works brilliantly. That in certain areas, everybody must necessarily participate, but it is the unique responsibility of one person to deliver that. This happens all the time for us. See, because branding as a subject is so complicated, and everybody uses the word brand now. You go to any advertising agency website, they don't use the word advertising, they use the word brand. You go to Lower Parel, the guy who prints vinyl signage, he says we create brands. Yeah? So everybody is, human beings can't be brands because human beings die out of old age, but Matt Damon says I am a brand. So there is a lot of confusion about that word. Therefore, very often what clients come to us is with a clever line. But they have come to us saying, this is what I want as a line. And then I explain to them, okay, if you don't mind, why don't you sit? And that the brand is not that line. There are many brands which have no lines. There are many brands which have never used advertising. Zara is 7.6 billion euro. It has never used advertising worth anything. How can you make a 7.6 billion euro brand without advertising? So first we make them sit and say, listen, the brand is what is that one idea, part of it which does not change, that's a brand. And I will help you find it out. You already have it in your head, you already have it in your heart, I will pull it out. I have the process to pull it out. Having pulled it out, we articulate it, define it, make sure your team understands it. Then if you want, we can have that line. Once he understands it. So that's what I'm saying. It's a question of aligning his objective to the right objective. See, right from the beginning, like when I joined Clarion as National Creative Director, the first note I wrote said there is no creative department. There are creative people and there are people who are not so creative. There is no department. So even if you are an account planner or an account executive, you can be creative if you are creative. If you are able to do this joining of two frames of reference, then you are creative. So what if I was to start afresh, if I was to create a unit, I would create a unit of generalists and not specialists. So a person who is at ease with digital, TV, radio, print, fiction, non-fiction, architecture, art, religion, sex, everything. I would create a team of such people rather than of somebody who just done design. Because what you need today is a generalist. I know for the first time I'm going to use a cliche. But the only reason why I'm going to use a cliche is because it is true. Forget about money. And just focus on what you love doing. Forget everybody else's advice that this is the way. It's like in my childhood, I used to read Times of India and I used to look at those ads and say, chartered accountant, 60,000 rupees. Holy my God, my father wouldn't have wanted this in his lifetime. I said, I want to be a chartered accountant. I would have been a disaster. I can't add. How can I be a chartered accountant? Thank God I ended up doing what I wanted to do. 4 years I was a teacher. I just loved it. I taught everything to everybody. Handwriting and gymnastics and judo and swimming and climbing and this. Because I loved it. So, A, don't waste your time thinking about मेरे को 400 रुपया मिला, मेरे को 300 रुपया मिला. Is this what you love doing? If you love doing that, then you say, bloody hell, I'm going to be the best at this. Afterwards, everything will fall in place. You will get the best jobs. You know, when I joined advertising, I used to meet many youngsters and say, Kiran, how many years did it take for you to become a creative director? I said, 3. मेरे को 1 साल में बनने का. So I said, can I tell you one thing? You will become. You will have a card called creative director, but you will not become a creative director. So the focus is A, what you like, not what is in fashion, and B, forget money. Money will come if you are good at what you do. Okay, Banana Bandy. Thank you very much for having me on camera.